Hey you guys, what's up? I'm Ashley from heavenathome.org, and this is the Heaven at Home podcast, where my goal is to encourage you in your personal growth journey while being open, honest, and owning my story. We have faith-based conversations and tackle a bunch of different tough topics. Check out the description to follow me and learn more. Remember, you are fully known and deeply loved. Let's do this. Hey guys, okay, so today I'm going to be sharing the top 4 ways that I have seen insecurity destroy relationships. And before you're getting too quick to skip and scroll on to the next episode, I just want to let you know this is very common, and there's a chance that you might be seeing this somewhere. There's a chance that the shoe might fit and you might need to wear it. So please just stick with me. All right, so 4 ways that insecurity destroys relationships. And I've seen these things destroy relationships even when you have a relatively healthy partner, even when you have at least one person who is healthy. When people think of the word insecurity, they are usually really quick to associate it with someone who just has low self-worth or low self-esteem or low self-confidence. And I want to encourage you right now to think outside the box and expand your mind and think about it a little bit differently in the context of relationships. Because insecurity can kind of mask itself as other things. Insecurity can show up as anxiety. It can show up as uncertainty or fear or doubt. It can show up as a feeling of inadequacy or just any feeling of vulnerability within the context of relationships. Insecurity can show up as jealousy, or it can show up as a fear of abandonment. It can show up as contempt for your partner or the other person or the relationship as a whole, or it can just appear as an excessive need for validation or verbal affirmation. There are some times where insecurity is something that is rooted from within you, and you just need to do a lot more work to renew your mind. You need to do more work to change the way that you think, manage the way that your mind kind of defaults to thinking. There's times where you have to kind of change your heart posture when it comes to the way that you perceive yourself or the way that you perceive the other person. And there's sometimes where insecurity is breeded by someone else's failure or reinforced by someone else's failure. This could be in or out of the relationship. And in some way, the failure to meet expectations comes up, or someone might be speaking in a way that affirms a former traumatic situation, a previous fear. So there's 4 ways that I've seen insecurity show up in relationships. And these are kind of warning signs to look out for and make note of. The first way is that you end up projecting your insecurities onto the other person. Especially in an emotional context, if you anticipate feeling rejected or unloved, if you're feeling insecure about your relationship in a long-term aspect, if you're insecure about your body or just concerned about the way others might be perceiving you or your body, like if you struggle with any feeling of being less than, you might think that the other person feels or thinks those same things too. And that is projecting, because you'll be thinking that the other person is thinking or feeling a certain way. And in the end, the feelings are not facts and it's not true. Another way that I've seen insecurity show up in relationships is through sabotage. So basically, setting the other person up to fail and saying that it's the other person's fault for the failure of the relationship. I think the healthiest relationships have realistic expectations. I think the healthiest relationship dynamics have a reasonable amount of give and take. I think the wisest relationships are tailored so that where one person is weak, the other person is strong, and vice versa. I'm by no means claiming to be a relationship expert, but it makes no sense to expect someone to be strong where they've always been weak. There are some people that are better planners, they're more detail oriented, and there's some people that are better at being present, better at making plans for just today, and they balance each other out. When one person is very easily made anxious, the other person is really good at making time to rest, making time to enjoy. And where one person can use improvement on planning or staying on top of details, like the other, you are truly a team, I guess is what I'm trying to point out. And in the healthiest relationships, I feel like there is almost like this learning principle where you both have the capacity to grow, to stretch outside of the way that you are naturally wired to show up for the person in the way that they need. But it's a reasonable modification. You are making reasonable, achievable modifications. So when it comes to the context of like sabotage, you'll already know the ways that the other person is weak, or you'll know the way that a person is wired differently. And regardless of what you've known of them for whatever length of time, you'll still want them to perform either in a very specific way, in your way, or according to your strength. And in my perspective, that can be sabotaging the relationship. If there are not like intrinsic systems made, or like, ways of going about planning or preparing or staying on track, like it's very easy to set the person up to fail. Another thing that I've seen is that there is this tendency to jump the gun. If you feel like someone is going to reject you, you reject them first. If you feel like someone is going to fail you, you'll fail them first. If you think they're going to leave you, you'll leave first. If you feel like someone's going to insult you, they'll insult you first. If you feel like someone's going to hurt you or disappoint you, you'll do all of that first. That's something that I've seen a lot, and it's not necessarily something that I can make a lot of sense of. I don't know if it's a defense mechanism or a coping mechanism or some way of like seizing control. That's just something that I've seen. It's a pattern that I've seen. And then the last thing I've noticed is that, especially if you feel that the insecurity in the relationship was brought on by some kind of betrayal or failure, if you believe that your insecurity in the relationship is merited by the other person's behavior or their lack of ability to perform in a certain way, you're more likely to become bitter, angry, and apathetic. And all of those emotions can become character traits. They can turn into a heart posture. And a heart posture like that can destroy relationships. And the way that that happens is that those heart postures ultimately contribute to you hardening your heart. If those feelings are left unchecked, eventually you start putting up a lot of defenses. You start thinking that the grass is greener on the other side. You start building a wall in the relationship. You start creating distance. And those 4 patterns are some of the main ways that I have seen insecurity destroy relationships. So be out on the lookout for them. Don't immediately start like looking at the other person to say, oh, you know, you're insecure by doing this and this and this. I'd encourage you to look at yourself first. Consider the ways that you need to grow, the ways that you need to reframe your perspective, the ways that you need to manage your emotions, and ultimately come up with realistic expectations and get down to the root of all the issues. My aim with this episode is just to provide some enlightenment and information so that you're more equipped to tackle healthy relationships in the future. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for listening. Feel free to DM me to send me your feedback. Check out the description below to follow me on social media. This podcast is listener supported. Don't forget to subscribe. Remember, you are fully known and deeply loved. I'll see you in the next one.